Josh and Frankie with a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations. There are many places to find Primus Tracks, including at Primus Tracks on Instagram and Threads. PrimusTracksPod@gmail.com is the email address. There's also a Facebook page. It's called Primus Tracks.
Give us some Facebook love, please.
The voice you just heard interrupting me is that of Frankie Berestein, coming to you all the way from the 39th floor of Primus Tracks Towers. I'm Josh, by the way. I'm an Iowan guy, but Frankie, you're a Mexico DF guy.
Exactly. I was going to ask you how many times you've been called Iowa in your life.
I think I told you about Freddie Barone, who called me Iowa. Nice to meet you, Iowa. Although I've been addressed as Iowa in multiple other situations. In those icebreaker moments when you are asked those kinds of questions, I answer I'm from Iowa, and everybody else is from a place that isn't Iowa, so it's unique to me, and so they call me Iowa as opposed to my name, which is fine. I would rather remain anonymous in those situations and hope they never remember me. Frankie, we have miscellaneous debris, and it is of the utmost importance.
We forgot to mention in our Phantom Patriot episode that there is a animated video for Phantom Patriot akin to the One Better animation that's also available on YouTube, and it's really fun to watch. It does not represent the song lyrically or the actual Phantom Patriot character. It goes in a completely different direction. It's actually quite family friendly. It's actually a nice little video. And It's still up there on YouTube in case you haven't watched it. Or if you haven't watched it in a long time, this might be a great opportunity to remind yourself what the Phantom Patriot video looks like.
It had been so long since I'd seen it, Frankie, I forgot that it existed. This was posted in 2008. And it is still available. The username is A Designer's Perspective. You can also just search Phantom Patriot Les Claypool on YouTube, and it will appear as though it was made for you to watch. The video features a guy in a quasi-European Navy outfit on an old ship, and he is spotting what I assume is an enemy in the distance, and then he starts playing around with cannonballs that are alive. Anthropomorphic cannonballs, Frankie.
I think Les would approve of the video.
I think it fits. Today we are talking about Iowan Gal, which is the impetus, I suppose, for all this Iowa talk. We are working our way. We're back into the saddle of Whales and Woe after a slight detour into current Primus events. This marks the back half of Whales and Woe. Mm-hmm. This track checks in at 3 minutes and 29 seconds. And here are your credits, Frankie. Les Claypool, bass, banjo, vocals, percussion.
Bass Joe, right?
Not much else. Yes, it's the bass Joe, the bass Joe, the banjo, the low banjo. You can call it whatever the hell you want. It sounds pretty cool on this record and on this track. And of course, this track is called Iowan Gal for a very specific reason. The subject of this track is a gal who is near and dear to all of our hearts, Chaney Claypool. And Frankie, I know you have a live history on this track, and I know you've had a lot of interactions with one Chaney Claypool over the years, and I would be interested to hear about all of those topics.
There's an interview, circa 1998, 1997, but I think it's from 98, rhinoplasty era. And it's an interview with Les where he just casually mentions that at that point in his life, Chaney kept asking, when are you going to write a song about me? And Les kept replying, gee, I don't know.
Wow.
So love, not a subject that is tackled that frequently in the Primus world or the Primus catalog. So we could say that the first Primus love song is Marry the Ice Cube, while the first Les Claypool solo love song is Iowan Gal, an ode to his wife Chaney Claypool, whom he married in 1995. Catch a glimpse of some really cool wedding photographs in the Defy the Laws of Tradition book. I don't think anyone has a coolest wedding photo than Les and Chaney.
Yeah, those photos are fantastic. And of course, when you get Jay Blakesberg to shoot your wedding, it's going to come out great.
Les has described Chaney as his favorite person to tour with and his best friend. We know that they waited a long time for Chaney to be able to join Les during full tours. Prior to that, she was fully devoted to her children. So when they finally left home and Cage went to college and Lena was doing her thing, that's when Chaney joined Primus full time. And this is a kind of an inside comment that I got from Joao, former keyboard player for Claypool and Delirium. He said, I like to go out and do stuff when we're touring, and Sean is always partying, he's mingling with people, but Les, he'll be in the tour bus or he'll be at the hotel because he wants to spend time with his wife. He wants to chill. And I think it's perfectly understandable, right? Chaney is his favorite person. So after years of touring and partying and hanging out with people, of course, now he wants to spend quality time with her, right?
Maximize your time with your partner. Yeah. Absolutely.
Chaney runs Claypool Cellars, and she still finds time to share set lists, videos, and photos with us. And she also goes live when they are on tour. And it's a really invaluable document for us to get her perspective when she's recording live. All of this insight is really priceless because it's a first-hand, unique insight into the world of Primus and Les Claypool that I think we wouldn't have had if Chaney hadn't been there to be the connector between the band and the fan base. Chaney is incredibly kind, and I think her contributions have been really remarkable over the years. First of all, besides the live and the photos, she provided insight into how truly deep the Claypool vault is when she shared archival finds she had discovered in their storage, such as reels with alternate takes, unused artwork, alternative track lists, tour props. I mean, she knows that this stuff matters and that it's particularly exciting for hardcores like us. She also acknowledges the most dedicated and talented fans, which is something you rarely see on other bands' social media. When you follow other acts, it's like, well, you're just one more face in the crowd, right? But when you stand out and Chaney notices, she has a way to truly make you feel special. I have met Chaney several times, and she was always really kind with me. She has received artwork that I have done for Les. She has asked me questions about my life, which made me feel that she really cared about me as a fan. I was one of the happiest Primus fans ever when Claypool Cellars shared my artwork for the first time. Chaney has also been part of Primus history in the sense that she has appeared in the videos for Mr. Crinkle and also Riddles Are Abound Tonight. It was only fair that such a key person in Claypool history had her own song at one point. And that brings us to Iowan Gal. Premiered in 2006 in Boulder with a particularly interesting live history. The song was always performed as a solo encore number on the Bass Joe through 2006, 2007, and 2008 with the Fancy Band. An official live performance was released on the Fancy DVD. It was performed once in 2007 with the Rat Brigade, one of the rarest Les Claypool bands out there. It was performed with the Fungi Band between 2009 and 2010, also as an encore. It was performed with Duo de Twang throughout 2012, 2013, and 2014, but Les played it on the dobro. And he has also performed the song at the Who Family Rock Show, sponsored by My Music RX for children with cancer, as I understand. He performed the song on dobro again, backed by two dancing owls he encouraged to break dance during the performance. The last two performances to date were 2015 in Nevada. This was a Primus concert from the Chocolate Factory tour, and Les performed the song solo as an encore for Chaney's birthday. And he did the same in 2021 at Houston. He performed the song for Chaney because it was her birthday. So if Primus is on tour and it's Chaney's birthday, you bet Les will perform Iowan Gal for her. A really fantastic moment, I must say. Now, if we tackle the song from a musical perspective, I think it's really interesting. I think it's in the Deliverance territory, at least the outro, right? It's crazy complex.
That's quite a parallel to draw, Frankie.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna go in that direction.
No, but I mean the complexity of the song.
I think it's it's kind of got that Happy Time Hoedown idea to it, and why wouldn't you write a song that makes you want to dance when you're singing about your spouse who has made you the happiest person on earth? So like the lyrics and the music certainly come together there for me. Yeah. You said a couple of things in your elongated commentary there that jumped out at me. One is Chaney, when you've interacted with her, she's asked you questions about your life. When I've interacted with her, she knows I'm from Iowa. So I feel like we don't have to...
you don't have to talk.
We don't have to ask each other questions. We already know. The backstory's already filled in. Like when fellow Iowans meet one another outside of Iowa, there's the knowing glance, and they're simpatico automatically. You don't have to make any small talk. But I will echo your sentiments that she's an incredibly kind person and patient and willing to talk to fans, and she certainly is just a great ambassador, of course, for the band, but what a great person.
Yeah. I mean, she has secured set lists for me. She has held on to them for me during the show, so they are neatly folded as opposed to wrinkled up and thrown into the crowd. I'll never forget how in 2022, when I went to see my lone date of Tribute to Kings, I got lured to sign my CDs, and then Chaney took my Suck on This album backstage. And I also got Les and Herb's signatures on it, which would have been otherwise impossible if it hadn't been for Chaney. So I have a ton of things to be grateful about with Chaney. She has always been nothing but extraordinary with me.
Yeah, what a great person. There's a little more background that we can shed on this, Frankie. I'm going to play about a minute and a half of footage from a program called Live from Prairie Lights. This was a radio program from Iowa City, Iowa, Chaney's hometown. Les, on his book tour for South of the Pump House in 2007, visited Prairie Lights bookstore and read portions of the book and then took audience questions. Prairie Lights bookstore was right around the corner from the last place I lived in Iowa City. I moved a year before this took place, and I of course recall being annoyed that it took place after I'd moved away. Because
it's not true historian behavior.
What's more convenient than being able to walk 37 seconds from your apartment to a bookstore to see one of your favorite musicians read from his novel and possibly ask him a question? I was shut out of that because of a life decision I made. However, knowing about Live from Prairie Lights, because I had been to many readings at Prairie Lights in the prior years before moving away, that this would be broadcast and archived. And I will put the link to this in the show notes. It's about 43 minutes of the program. It does cut off at the end before the conclusion. However, this is a really nice piece of history here. And I wanted to play this portion. He's in Iowa City, and Les gives some background on how he and Chaney got together.
I did not meet my wife here in Iowa City, but I was the one that talked her into moving from Iowa City to Berkeley to go to school, where she subsequently dumped me, and I had to endure her going out with a friend of mine for 2 years before we finally came back together.
Well, there's a story.
It's my next, you can read it in the next novel.
How did you...
It's very violent.
You liked that question, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. How did you meet your wife then? I mean, from Iowa to California and a big rock star.
I was really
How did that?
drunk.
Okay.
No. A
Try to
friend
give
of
the
mine.
clean bird
A friend of mine was going out with her older sister, and another friend of mine was going out with her twin sister, and I just became very good friends with her family. And actually, when we would tour through, I'd stay with who became my in-laws. And we subsequently crashed our motorhome one time into the side of their garage. I didn't. My sound man ripped a big hole in the side of the motorhome on the side of their garage. So good times were just building up. So we decided we should get together, you know.
I had heard that story about the 2 years, but I didn't want to mention it.
Well, we let Les mention it. This actually coincides with another find of mine out there in the world of the internet, that Primus actually played Iowa City at Gabe's, which is a small dive, in 1989. Wow. And so Primus and Les have a pretty rich history going back that far. And the blog entry I found that also had an image of the show flyer for that performance at Gabe's in '89 also mentioned that when Primus returned to Iowa City in 1993, when they played the university campus, at times throughout the show, Les would just go up to the microphone and yell, "Gabe's!" because that's the one venue in town he probably knew. Before returning. So he's been, and of course, now that they've been married for decades and have been back to Iowa numerous times, I'm sure he knows the city pretty well. I lived there for quite some time. I did my undergraduate years at the University of Iowa in Iowa City, lived there for a few years afterwards.
Is that when you were running down the hall screaming, "Are you still floating?"
Yes, that is on that timeline. Yes.
Oh,
so
great.
There was a lot of questionable behavior in those years, and that's a mild example. One I'm allowed to share. But I did read an interview long ago. I cannot find it for the life of me. I looked for a good portion of time.
Yeah, interviews disappear all the time.
As they do. And this one was about Les visiting Iowa City with Chaney after they were married, and he said a few things that resonated with me, being a person who had lived in Iowa City for some time. He said, "Oh yeah, Chaney's taken me to all the local landmarks. So we've eaten at the Hamburg Inn, which is a famous diner in Iowa City, and it's particularly famous, Frankie, because for many years, presidential candidates, they go to Iowa first because Iowa is the first state to hold primary elections, or in Iowa they call it a caucus. So presidential candidates who are running for major party elections always go to Iowa, and it became a tradition for them to go dine at Hamburg Inn. And so there's photos of Bill Clinton and Ronnie Reagan and all these different presidents and presidential candidates dining there. He also said, "Oh, and she took me to the Black Angel. It's a bronze statue that's been oxidized over the years, so it turned a really dark color. And it's an angel standing over a headstone in a cemetery in Iowa City, and it's a popular place for undergrads and high school students to go, mostly to make out. But and I certainly visited the Black Angel a time or two. So he mentioned some important landmarks, so I know he knows that town pretty well. And of course, it was pretty cool because then I was able to make that personal connection as well.
I've always I've always meant to ask Chaney, but I guess I keep forgetting what she felt or what she thought about Iowan Gal the very first time she heard it. That must have been something, right?
Right, yeah. You mentioned that it took less a while to write the song for.
Yeah.
I would imagine if I were to, well, first of all, if I were to write a song for my wife, it would be god-awful, and nobody should ever hear it, especially her. However, I think part of the reason Les probably took a while to do this was he wanted to get it right. You don't want to bungle that. There's a lot of pressure. And so... when he finally settled on a musical idea and an approach and some lyrics, it came together, and this is what we're hearing on track 7 of Whales and Woe. So he was satisfied enough with it that he was comfortable to show it to her and then put it on a record. So I do wonder what her reaction was, and considering it made it to the record, I'm guessing it was positive.
Yeah. You don't want to come up with a Ramona Flowers song, right? So when they're at his apartment, he tells her, hey, I wrote a song about you. And he pulls out his acoustic guitar and then he plays the song. And she's like, well, so far so good. It'll be great when it's finished.
That's
and he's
right.
like, yeah.
It is finished.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yes. You don't want that. It would be interesting to hear her take on that.
Musically, something that pops up about Iowan Gal for me is that it kind of follows a structure that you can find on several songs in the Primus and Les Claypool catalog. And I mean songs where you have a riff that defines the main structure of the song, and you have a verse, you have a chorus, but for the coda or for the outro, the song switches gears. It takes you by surprise, goes in a different direction, and usually Les goes nuts. And I think that happens here in Iowan Gal. Other examples that come to mind, well, of course, the catharsis of Frizzle Fry, yeah. American Life, and in his other works, you can find something like this in Captain Lariat, for example. So with Iowan Gal, you may have an idea of what the song is going to be like, but then the tempo speeds up and it gets really crazy. You know what? They used to do something like that during the live performances of Birthday Boys with Oysterhead. So it's a format that Les likes to approach with his music, and I think it's quite compelling. It makes the songs, it makes you look forward to something when you listen to the songs. And I think that if you were to witness a live performance of Iowan Gal, your eyes would be glued on Les's fingers during the coda, because he goes nuts on the track. And it's something really amazing to watch. An example would be the Fancy DVD, where you get a close-up of what he's doing on the bass jaw. So I've heard it from reliable sources that it is a difficult song to play. So what impression do you get from the song musically?
Yeah, it's pretty acrobatic. He kind of stays in a box for the main lick. A lot of open strings and hammer-ons to fill space, because it is essentially a solo song with one guy. So he's doing all those little things that you do to fill space, but it's pretty acrobatic, especially in that second half when the jig really kicks in, like on the studio version with the percussion, and it picks up. I was surprised that it was 3 minutes 29 seconds. If you had quizzed me how long is this track on the record, I would have said 1 minute and 57 seconds.
It flies by.
For me, it kind of sticks around a bit, but so I was surprised at the length of it. I wouldn't say it's too long for what we get. However, it's certainly longer than I would have expected. Gotta have that jig.
I got me an Iowan gal. 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 You should see my Iowan gal.
He's so proud of her. And that's, I think, part of the high energy portion of this. And then, hey, This is my gal. Now we're going to dance. So that's what you get for much of the first part of the tune. And then near the end here, things really pick up. And it's one of those, it reminds me of like a young animal that's just so full of excitement at being alive that it can't help but just bounce around and, kick its feet in the air and that sort of thing. So there's that youthful, irrational energy to the second half of this one, which you could also attribute to being in the throes of love with your significant other. If this is how it makes you feel to be with your betrothed, you're in a good place.
Me and Iowan Gal, I got me and Iowan Gal. Well, you should see my Iowan Gal. I got me and Iowan Gal, I got me and Iowan Gal. She's the sweetest thing this side of Des Moines. She cooks up a mighty fine pork loin. So hop on an airplane, get your train, pal. Get yourself a corn-fed Iowan Gal.
That percussion sounds like the mat he would stomp on during Do the Twank performances.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same one.
Sounds like that. It's interesting that Les picked this instrument for Iowan Gal, because although it stands out in the context of the record, and it kind of stands out in the whole context of his discography,
for sure,
it wasn't the first time that he approached this instrument or that he shed some spotlight on this instrument. Well, it wouldn't be the last one either, because there were precedents. We know that Primus did a full banjo performance to launch Tales from the Punch Bowl Enhanced.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And the Residents were there, and it was legendary. And there's footage of Les playing banjo, in the cheesy home video. But there were also instances after Iowan Gal where I guess he wanted to explore further what he could do with the instrument. And for instance, you have the performance at Bridgeport, Gathering of the Vibes, 2007. And this show was divided in two parts. The second part was the Rat Brigade, full band performance. But the first part of the show was Les Claypool solo with the bass Joe. He performed American Life, Up on the Roof, Running the Gauntlet, David McAllister, Buzzers of Green Hill, Groundhog's Day, and Iowan Gal, all by himself on the bass Joe.
That's a hell of a set.
Yeah, so that really gives me the impression that at one point, he really enjoyed this instrument and he really enjoyed exploring what he could do with it, because it was also routinary. You had the bass Joe encore nightly during the Fancy Tour. And Iowan Gal was part of that, of course, plus a surprise song, which could be any of these songs that I just mentioned as well. And it's interesting that he would switch to the dobro, and that could come down to him not carrying the bass Joe on tour because he would never use it otherwise, or maybe he just prefers the way that the songs come across on the dobro.
Yeah, or maybe the dobro is just lighter and more convenient. It could be a comfort thing.
Easier to play, right?
Could be, yeah. That resonator is essentially made of plywood, so it weighs next to nothing, I imagine.
Can we sample the coda? Because that's where things get crazy.
There you go.
It got really thick at one point.
It did when he went low register.
But that's just an example, because live, he would play around with that. There were some stop and start sections. Sometimes he was hammering. He would do all kinds of stuff when he performed the song live.
I'm also getting a vibe of like, hey, honey, look at me. Look, I'm playing real fast. Look.
Yeah.
Which I do that to my wife all the time. She doesn't like it.
When you're playing guitar?
Just when I'm doing anything. Look, I'm holding the dog. Look, I'm holding the cat. Look, I'm raking the leaves. really
bicycle with no hands.
I'm riding my bicycle. I can ride my bike with no handlebars. Look, Mom. So
cannonball at the pool.
Look, I can jump real high. Right, yeah. I'm gonna make the biggest splash. Look, honey. Yeah, this is a fun one, and it is it's a nice break in terms of style throughout the record too. So it does start side 2. Remember, Soya told us about that Les is always conscious of what ends side 1, starts side 2, and of course it closes a record.
He's thinking about the records in terms of vinyl. Yeah, in terms of flipping side A and B. Absolutely.
Right. So
he's old school like that.
This being that opener to side 2 is a fun change of pace.
Exactly. Let's take a look at the lyrics.
Absolutely. I take umbrage with some of these lyrics, Frankie, as a native Iowan. I do appreciate that Les is making corn and pork references, especially the pork tenderloin, of course. That is an Iowa staple. Corn, pork, but no mention of soybeans, Frankie. Iowa is a massive exporter of soybeans. Actually, I don't care. I just thought it'd be funny to be upset about the lack of soybeans in a song. I did find out, though, reading up on it, that Iowa is second only to the gigantic state of California in agricultural exports in all of the United States. What I do recall, though, is Iowa exported so much soy to China, and still does, that the government of China in the 80s started sending agricultural delegations to the state to learn about modernizing farming practices, being more efficient when it came to agricultural practices. And that continues to this day, I think. The current president of China, Xi Jinping, has visited Iowa a bunch of times and actually has a bunch of friends in Iowa. That'd be a complicated friendship, I think.
Here's an idiom for you. In the show Duckman, Cornfed is referred to as Cornfed because of his tendency to be indecisive and lack a clear sense of direction.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that application of it. I've always just associated it with you eat a lot of corn. Because it's there and it fills you up. It's just one of those things. I guess I've never thought of it outside of the literal context of eating corn, because it's omnipresent in the state of Iowa. If you've ever visited, you've seen corn, no matter where you've been.
You've seen the crops.
You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it.
Do you roll the corn around your mouth as you bite it?
I eat it typewriter style. And
great.
It's a lot of fun. Now, before we started recording, Frankie, you told me that you use the little handles and stick them in to each.
Yeah, I love those little handles. Yeah.
It brings me no pleasure to tell you this. That is wimp behavior.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if the corn comes off the grill or right out of the water pot, the boiling water pot. You grab each end with your bare hands and you roll it in the butter. And you put the salt and pepper or whatever it is you're putting on it, and then you just go. So
it's frowned upon, like when you eat a slice of pizza with fork and knife?
It's very much like that in many Iowan homes. Yes, it's a faux pas. Don't do that in the state of Iowa. Having told you this, you probably wouldn't be surprised that so many Iowans have thick calluses on their fingertips.
Oh, it's because of the corn grabbing. Okay.
As a result of all the corn grabbing. So you definitely have to have your big pat of butter to roll it in, at least.
Did you eat corn while you were in Mexico?
I don't recall.
So they will grab a large corn, they will impale it on a stick, and then it will be covered with mayo, lemon, and cheese and chili.
Oh, wow. No, I did not experience that, but I've seen that before. It looks great. Yeah.
It is great.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with decorating corn with just about anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Les, of course, mentions the corn and the pork. He left out the soy. A couple other staple Iowa foods, Frankie, that you may not have heard of are loose meat sandwiches, which is essentially just ground beef on a hamburger bun with whatever you want on it. Usually it's chopped onions, mustard, so on and so forth. More recent ones are, this cracks me up every time I get to talk about it. more recent Iowa staples, Frankie, are deep fried butter on a stick and gas station pizza. Those are two things Iowa is known for in recent years.
Gas station pizza.
Yes. Casey's pizza is strangely delicious and really good. And Casey's gas stations are all over the state. You can't.
Are the slices rolling on display?
No, they're not on the hot dog roller. No, you're not. Which would be incredible. No, they're just in a glass, just in a case with the heating element.
Okay.
And they'll just pull the slice off and hand it to you. And the deep fried butter on a stick is mostly at the state fair. You already have a stick of butter. They roll it in this breading that's sugar, cinnamon, flour, whatever. So they somehow make butter worse for your health, and then they deep fry it, and then it's on a stick, and you just walk around eating it.
It's a death wish on a stick.
That is the Iowa way of life, my friend.
All right. I particularly love the line where he says, she quilted me up a cashmere blanket.
Yeah, she must be quite the seamstress. I don't know where she got access to cashmere because that shit's expensive.
Yeah.
So good. Jeez, good for you, Chaney. Dang. But we do know she's a styling lady.
Absolutely. She's very sophisticated.
Indeed. She always looks classy. Especially, I'm always looking at her hats because Chaney has some really fetching hats. I think newly minted Primus drummer John Hoffman could learn a thing or two from Chaney's hat game because he's sticking to the baseball style caps. Not a bad thing, but he could certainly branch out. I think he'd look great in a little newsy cap or something. So yeah, the lyrics are very loving, of course, which we rarely come across in the run of this podcast. And I'm glad you mentioned Mary the Ice Cube because I do thematically link them because they are both about love, but that's where they diverge because one is about love lost and the other is about love fulfilled. It doesn't take much to read the difference. So there's a lot of repetition of I got me an Iowan gal. You should see my Iowan gal. You may try and win her, but you never will, pal. My purebred, corn-fed Iowan gal. Pretty as a picture, happy as a clam. Pinch me and tell me how lucky I am. That's the line right there, right? I will say there's a lot of great lines in here to, as a testament to his adoration for her. Gives the geographic reference, sweetest thing this side of Des Moines, which is the capital of Iowa, and it's like geographically in the middle of the state. I will also say spank it and blanket is a brave rhyming pair.
Controversial yet brave.
Bold choice, and that's all I'll say about that.
Do you recall the show from the Tribute to Kings run where Les gave a serenade to Chaney with the My Name is Moth bass reps?
Yes, that video is great. Chaney was taking video. And
that was fantastic.
Ambled on over and played the last few reps and like holding up the bass too, like. Check it out. That was a sweet moment for sure.
Yeah.
Wholesome family entertainment is not a descriptor I would normally have for a Primus show, but there are moments.
How about some live cuts?
Live cuts, you say? Live cuts.
A jam vehicle.
Live cuts. The jam vehicle. Live cuts.
What's going on here?
And I'll tell you what's going on here, disembodied voice of Tim Sawyer. It's live cuts time. We have a couple of live renditions of Iowan Gal. First one, Frankie, that I have chosen to play today from the two you have sent is Whales Live. And that's all it says.
Great.
Whales Live. No metadata. Once again, please direct all complaints to @FrankieBerestein on Instagram. I run the Primus Tracks Instagram, and when you guys tell me that you are irritated that you don't have the data on those shows, I can't help you, man.
Sorry, guys.
Let's hear Iowan Gal, unknown date and location. Of course.
I told you. Yeah.
Man, I was rocking it too.
The incredulous reaction of the crowd that's a golden moment. But then he picks up with Iowan Gal, and we're going to move forward and hear. Nice tone. Sounding good, man. I do like that tone he's got, too. It's nice and dirty. Funky.
You should see my Iowan
That's a fun way to finish it. Our next live cut and final live cut of the evening, Frankie, is the aforementioned Yoo-Hoo Family Rock Show.
Not to be confused with Yoo-Hoo, the elixir.
Now, when you saw the title Yoo-Hoo Family Rock Show, were you misled?
I was thirsty, yeah.
Pavlov's dogs and Frankie Berestein. You can watch the video of this performance. It is on YouTube. It's pro shot. Less, as Frankie mentioned earlier, less is flanked by some dancing owls. And there are a lot of little kids in the audience and a lot of very excited adults. Kids aren't sure what they're looking at, I think, most of the time in this video. Here's a portion of that.
You should see my Iowan Gal.
Tempo.
Well, I got me an Iowan Gal. I got me an Iowan Gal. She's the sweetest thing this side of the morning. She cooks up a mighty fine pork loin. So hop on an airplane, catch a train, pal. Get you some pork fat Iowan Gal. You should see my Iowan Gal.
Just a little disappointed he didn't tease Master of Puppets for the kids.
Yeah, trying to find anything online about Yoo-Hoo Family Rock Show. I recall reading that it was in order to raise funds for cancer, but I don't know if it's like for all kinds of medical conditions in general. My Music RX.
Was it Austin, Texas? That's the was that the location?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I remember about that performance. Well, there's your live cuts. Thanks, Frankie. I'm so glad you included the dancing owls, sort of.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, even My Music RX domain is up for sale. Everything is gone.
Oh, no, it was a pyramid scheme.
Information has vanished. Yeah, it was a pyramid scheme.
Oh, no.
But they did get less to perform.
Well, we've had ourselves a nice little diversion here, Frankie, with Iowan Gal.
Great track, really fun.
Great number to start side 2 of Whales and Woe. Break up the record a little bit with some variety.
What is Iowan Gal in the anatomy of the record?
This is a great question because I have never considered it.
It can't be the heart because that's already taken.
Man, I wonder if we should relabel the heart. With Iowan Gal, we have a lot of body parts available. It's such a high energy number, and it's so joyous. What's the most joyous part of the human body? And don't be gross, Frankie. What do you think?
Wow, great question. Let's go with the taste buds because of all the food references.
I was going to say let's go with the round bottom of the record.
Wow, yeah, great choice. It's the bottom.
It's the bottom. We have the hips of the record. That's already been established. And the hips are going to move the round bottom.
Awesome.
See, it's all connected, just like the old song.
So when you grab this record by the hips, you dance. When you grab it by the arms, you feel the strength. Then you spank the bottom, and then you get herpes, right?
No, what? No, that's not how love works. Maybe for some people. I'm worried about you now of Whales and Woe. And Iowan Gal, pass the butter, and you've been tracked. Primates, primatrons, people of all ages, people of Earth, thank you so much for listening. Hope that last comment did not unsettle you.
I'm just going by what Liz has described so far.
Yeah, but all these people listening now are never going to look at their Of Whales and Woe record the same, Frankie. They're going to be weirdly turned on, and it's your fault.
And the breath that stinks of liquor.
I got drunk and kissed my record. Later days.
Willie Mays.